Let's talk about something that almost no one in their 20s will admit out loud. Most of us have absolutely no idea what we're doing, and we're spending an enormous amount of energy pretending otherwise. There's this version of your 20s that exists online. She has a morning routine. Her apartment looks like it was styled for a photo shoot. She's figuring out her career, her relationships, her mental health, all at the same time, all gracefully, somehow on a budget. And I think somewhere in the back of our minds, a lot of us are quietly measuring ourselves against her, even though we know she isn't real. Your 20s are genuinely one of the more disorienting stretches of your entire life. You're making decisions that feel enormous: where to live, what to do for work, who to be close to, and you're making them with very little experience of yourself as an adult. Psychologists who study this period call it emerging adulthood, and the research is pretty consistent. It involves more identity revision, more psychological instability, and more fundamental change than almost any other decade. That's not a personal failing. That's just what this time of life looks like for most people. So if you're constantly feeling behind, or like everyone around you is navigating this more confidently than you are, that feeling deserves a closer look, because it might be telling you something false. Here's the thing about comparison now, versus even 15 years ago. People have always compared themselves to their peers. That's not new. What's new is the structure of it. Previous generations did it in person, occasionally, with people they actually knew. Now you're comparing your interior experience, how you actually feel on a Tuesday morning, exhausted and uncertain, to a curated highlight reel from people you've never met, whose real circumstances you know nothing about. And the really insidious part is what that does to your baseline over time. When what you see every day is the most polished, most successful, most aesthetically organized version of other people's lives, ordinary life starts to look like failure. That's not a coincidence. That's the mechanism. And once you can see it clearly, it starts to lose some of its grip on you. Now I want to talk about timelines, because this is where a lot of the pressure actually lives. Most of us have absorbed some version of a schedule, a sense that by a certain age, certain things should be figured out. Career direction, a serious relationship, financial stability, knowing who you are. And these timelines feel concrete. They feel reasonable, but they're largely cultural constructs that have been dressed up as practical or even biological necessity. Real progress in your 20s very rarely looks like progress while it's happening. It looks like changing your mind about something you were completely certain about. It looks like a stretch of real confusion, followed by a little more clarity, followed by more confusion. It looks like choosing a direction and only finding out through experience, not planning, whether it was the right one. That's not failure. That's what development actually looks like for most people. It's not a straight line, and it's almost never a series of perfectly timed realizations. So what does actually help? Because there is real research on this, and it doesn't always point where you'd expect. The quality of your close relationships is the single most replicated finding in the psychology of well-being across adulthood. Not your follower count, not your network, your actual relationships. The ones where you feel genuinely known. A small number of those turns out to matter enormously, more than almost anything else on the list. Having an honest sense of your own values, not goals, not aesthetics, but what you actually care about and what kind of person you want to be, tends to anchor people through instability better than any external achievement. Goals depend on circumstances staying stable. Values travel with you no matter what changes. And self-compassion, which is not the same thing as self-esteem, and not the same thing as letting yourself off the hook, has a surprisingly strong evidence base. Treating yourself with the same basic decency you'd extend to a friend when things go wrong turns out to be a genuine predictor of resilience. Not just a nice idea, an actual, measurable factor. So here's the reframe I'd leave you with. Instead of asking yourself whether you're on track, try asking whether you're paying attention. Are you learning from what's happening in your life, even when it's hard? Are you being honest with yourself about what's working and what isn't? Are you showing up, even imperfectly, for the things and people that actually matter to you? That's a more honest definition of having it together. And unlike the one you've been sold online, it's actually within reach. If you found the video helpful, please give a thumbs up, and for more insights, please subscribe to the channel.